let's change the theme to something dark. All right, so today we are looking at for loops. Uh, which we would use to, I think we are going to start with for loops. So a for loop, what is a for loop used for in programming language? Some of you, uh, okay, some of you might have learned or you've used other programming languages, so you might have come across for loops. They are mostly similar with just some few syntax difference. So it's basically loops are used for iterating codes, right? They are used for iterating codes to have things repeat or have like iterating codes over a particular sequence. Maybe we'll look at an example. For instance, a for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. That is, either you have a list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, or a string, a list of something that you want to iterate, like you want to pick out one after the other. You use a for loop. This is going to be using AI to be predicting what I want to do. I don't want it to do that. Let me just use Jupyter Notebook. Or let me switch it off. I don't want it to be doing that. I think this is Codex that is doing this. I hope I'm sharing my screen. I have something here that is predicting my code. It's an AI tool extension that's predicting my code. I don't want that. Isn't this Codex? Is it not Codex? I don't know what it is. All right. So I think I'd like to use Jupyter Notebook instead. I don't know why. Before I decide to switch it off. Okay, but before it loads, let's start here. So it has a particular syntax. If you can see my screen, I hope I'm sharing my screen, please. It has a particular in list, for instance, and something like this. Code goes here, right? So this is the syntax. You see, for iterator or for something in a list, a string, or whatever it is you have, then you tell it what you want it to do. Let me see, has my Jupyter Notebook loaded? Still not loading. it's taking forever. All right, it worked. So
Hello, good evening, sir.
good evening.
Uh, Please, are you still sharing your screen?
No,
Because I'm not.
my VS Code is giving me an issue. I'm switching to
Okay,
notebook. Yeah.
okay.
So I'm trying to switch to my notebook. Even this one is loading slowly. Uh-uh. What's the problem today now? Sorry, please. I'm trying to figure out what the problem is. I'm having issues with this thing. Okay. So, please, am I still sharing the Jupyter notebook page?
Yes, you are.
All right. So, sorry for the delay. Let's get started. So, I was saying the syntax for loop is like this. You say for iterator in lists, then you tell it what you want it to do right below here. Um, Code goes here, right? So what do we mean by this particular syntax? Say for instance, you have my name, right? And for whatever reason you want to be printing out, you want to like list out, iterate through, meaning list out each letter or each alphabet in this name. So how do you do that? You using a for loop, what you'd say is for let's say letter, which will be like a placeholder or a variable that represents every single letter in this name. Let's say for letter in Abdul Aziz, print letter. So iteration basically is the process of repeating a sequence of actions. You understand? So what you are saying is for every letter in this name, it should be printed out. So what Python will do is it will check every single letter will be printed out. It will print the first one, A, and then after it will print the second one, print the third one, print the fourth one. So what this helps you do is just to iterate or run repeating a process that you are supposed to repeat like one after the other. You can just do it at the same time. Yes, Aisha, class has started. You can just do it at the same time. So what do you think will happen when I now execute this? It will now break down my name, right? It will break it down one after the other. You have A, B, D, U, L, and so that's basically how uh, for loops work. You will see how handy it is when we look at other important things, right? So for instance, you have a list of, so what it does is it will check individual item in whatever it is, the value you gave it to iterate over. So since this is a string, and you know in a string each character in a string is considered an item, right? So it's going to print out each character if you put a letter as the iterator and you try to print it. So if this was what's it called, a list, for instance, let's say we have a list of numbers, right, which is 0 1 2 3 4 5, and you want to iterate over this list of numbers. You can say for number, let's call this one numbers. In numbers, print number. So you are saying for every number in this list of numbers, each one should be printed. So what the for loop will do is after it has printed 0, it will go back and then it will print the other one. Since 0 has already, the condition for 0 has already been met, it will print 1, it will now print 2 up to 5 individually instead of printing the whole list out, right? So when you run this, you see that it will now print it, it will iterate over the list and it will print it individually. So you just need to understand that this is how a for loop works, right? So you can use it in a string where each alphabet will be considered an item, right? So you can use it in, now, this is just a list of number. So for whatever reason, if I have, say, a list of names now, let's call it names, right? And then the first one is Isa, the second one Bello, the third one Abdul, the fourth one Aisha, Zainab, Afsa, something like this, right? And then you want these names, right, in individually, to be printed out individually, one after the other. Now in this case, when you are using the for, the iterator or the items that will be considered is each one of this, right? Isa will be one item, Bello would be another item in a for loop, unlike if it is just one string value that each letter will be considered an item. In a list, the whole name, each name will be considered an item of this list. So you can say for item in names, right, which means for item in these names, print item, and what will happen, each name would be printed out individually. So you'd have Isa, Bello, Abdul, Aisha, Zainab, right? So let me stay here so that you can take a look at this. Let me not go too fast and see whether you understand what is going on here. Any question? Am I
So please,
coming?
can you scroll?
Now?
Can you
So
scroll
please,
up?
can you scroll?
Yeah,
Can
from
you scroll up?
the very
Yeah,
beginning.
from
When you start
very
writing
beginning.
about, yeah, yeah.
When you start writing about, yeah, yeah. Hmm?
Any question? Ma, zai katse min abin da nake yi.
No question for now.
All right.
No question
Uh,
for now. For my
it
end.
seems like a lot of people are having network issues. So what's the problem today? I had to also abandon that I had to leave that my NTN and use my
Global.
my Glow.
Global. Yeah, I have to leave Airtel to use Glue. Yeah, I have to leave
So
Airtel to use Glue.
at all. This one that people are having network issues. I hope you guys are with us. Two of them logged in and they had to they logged out again. Let's just continue since I'm recording the class. So if anyone misses anything, you can. All right. So
Uh,
um names is called to so far you understand what this does, right? So it will now check. So this one is going to be like a variable that saves each item for each time it's printing. In the first time, in the first round, it's going to save isa, right? So in the second round, it will be bellow. So anytime item is being printed, it will be iterating over this list, like right, to go from the beginning to the end. Same thing with the numbers, and then same thing with the string. All right, so you can as well do this in dictionary. Let's assume we have a dictionary like this called with the record of a person, right? So let's say, let me do this so that it can just be arranged in one first underscore name of the person should be Najib, right? And then last name should be, let's say, Habib. The age should be, let's say, the person is 60. Country, Nigeria. And say probably, let's just leave it like this so that we can end this, right? So, assuming you have this dictionary, you can even take a look at the dictionary. You have the name and the rest. So you can even take a look at the key of the dictionary. I mean keys. What am I saying? Is it keys, right? So you can take a look at the values, right? So the person's name is Najib Habib 60 and he's from Nigeria. So if you would like to iterate over this loop, over this information, what do you do? It can be, since this one is different, the way you loop over dictionary is actually different from the rest. So there's a need for you to look at it. You know, normally dictionary comes in key value pairs, right? So it means that the label first name has the value Najib, label last name has the value Habib, label age has the value 60, label country has the value Nigeria. So let me show you what happens when you try to loop over a dictionary. So let's say we say for key in person, so and then we print key. Look at what it does. It prints only the keys, meaning the labels. It prints only the keys and it ignores the values. How does this work? it's not because you put key here. You can put any variable, because that's supposed to be a variable, an iterator, and it will still print the same thing. You can put anything. So why is it that if you try to loop over a dictionary and you just put one variable, it will give you the keys? It's because in a dictionary, one item is actually a key value pair, meaning these two are considered a single item. First name and Najib are considered a single item. Last name and Habib are considered a single item. This and this. So when you print only one of the iterator, you are trying to say just give me the first part. Like there are two pairs, key and value pairs. So you are saying print just give me the first part of each item. So it's going to give you the first name, the last name, the age, the country. That's how they are different from each other. In string, each alphabet is considered an item. So when you try to iterate, it will bring out each alphabet. In list, each item item in the list is also considered a standalone item. That's why if you have a list of names, each name will be printed as a single item, unlike in a string where each alphabet is an item. So in a dictionary, the key and the value are considered a single item. So when you try to print just one, unfortunately, it's going to tell you that it's going to print just the keys, ignoring the what's it called, the value. So the way you get both actually is that you'd have to say for key value in person dot items, you now print the key and value. Yeah, so this is how you get this out of what's it called, a dictionary. So it's just for you to know that this is there. But in the use cases, when it comes, it's going to be easier for you to recognize all these differences, right? So and they are also in the notes, so we just have to go through them. Don't have much time. We have a lot to cover. So you for loops also have breaks that you introduce into your loops to tell your loop Python that this is where you'd like to stop a loop before it's completed. Say for instance, you have a list of names that are probably in the hundreds, and you like to stop in a particular name. You know where you want to stop. You want to loop over that name, but you do want to stop in one particular place. So what you would have to do is use a break to tell Python where to stop. For instance of how to use break in loop, say you have numbers, right? And then the numbers are, let's even use a tuple. You can use a list. So let's use a tuple. 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, same thing. So if you use a for number in numbers and you'd like to break out of this loop before it reaches the end, say you say print number, right? So but you now add a condition. If number, say we want to break out when number is 3, the same thing if you recall, Mr. Yusuf. So you add a break, and then what will happen is that it will stop at exactly 3, right? So where can this be applicable? You know we have a list of names here, I think, right? Let's take this list of names here so that we remember what it is. We don't need to do that, but we can pick that up. So let's say we paste it here, right? So you want to iterate over this list, but it's not as if you want everything to be iterated, right? So you would like to stop at Aisha, for instance, so that it will stop at Aisha. You don't want to print Zainab and Hafsa as you are iterating. So you can say, right, you can just say for I or name or whatever. Let me change it so that you will not be confused. In names, right? Print I, right? So you now add a condition. If I is the same as Aisha, what will happen?
Break.
Break,
Break.
right? So this is what will happen. It will stop at Aisha and then it will leave out Zainab and Hafsat. Let me, let me stop here so that you can go through the
Sir,
code.
can one use
Sir, sir, can one use Allah dan malam malam da ba malam Haruna bane a bayan ina tuba
Abubakar,
da
you are disturbing us.
to
Please
sai ma
kindly
ba
cow down
karamin
a bit.
kokari ya mutu
sir?
Yeah.
I was like
sir
saying that can one use
I
the
was like
index
saying
number
that
of
can
Aisha
one
instead of
use the
calling the name
index number
itself?
of Aisha instead of calling the name itself?
I get what you are saying. You are saying instead of saying Aisha, you want to say, let's say, names. Aisha is what, three, right?
Yeah.
It works. As
Yeah.
you can see, it works.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So, because these names, it's
Yeah.
still the same thing. You are saying print I should to stop wherever this is, there's a value saved here. This is just like a variable. There's already a value saved here. So what
Yeah.
Python will do, it will just check what is in here,
Yeah.
right? So the advantage of this, say for instance, the names of students you have 1,000 students. Probably they are arranged they are arranged serially, and then you
Mm.
were asked to print out the names of the first
Mm.
100, right? So it's not as if you know the name of the person in the position 100, right? So what you could do is that you can say it should break when it has reached index 99, right? You understand?
Mm.
So it's going to be the same thing, just like you said. So
Mm.
you can tell it to break when it has reached index 9 now. But let's return our Aisha. So it helps in that way because we are assuming that these are containers and variables where you don't actually know what's in it. Mind you, in these our tutorials, we are defining the values, but in most cases, when you are doing Python, you are assuming because those that are even going to use the codes and probably the software haven't even saved. You don't even know they've not decided what will be saved in those containers. So it's not as if you know what's inside. So obviously you use index and make correct assumptions, right? So this is what break does. So we also have continue in a for loop. So if you have a sequence, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Say you know that in your list of students, Aisha has dropped out. She's no longer in the school. So you would like to exclude her in whatever it is you need the names for. So you know that names, this is names, and you would like to exclude Aisha. So you would use continue to do this. How do you do this? You say for I, let me use another letter so that you people will know that you can use anything. In names, this is what will not change, right? So you say print b, but you now add a condition. If b is equal to is the same as Aisha, right?
Mm.
What will happen?
Mm.
Continue.
Continue.
So we didn't stop this. What is missing?
Um,
Um.
I think we can use if name is equal to I think we can use if
It's
name is
not
equal to
skipping Aisha.
Zainab, right?
Why?
If name
We saw this in
in while loop.
yeah. So
In while loop.
what will happen is that let's take this out. Mm, why is it not working? Why is it not working? All right, so let's use a simple. Let me see if I can use something else. I'll get back to that Aisha example. Uh, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I I think
Hello, sir.
if it
I
is the way
I
we did
think
the while loop,
if it is the
that
way we
print
did the while loop,
Yeah.
in the
that
Should come
print
syntax
before.
in
shouldn't come
the
before
syntax
Yeah.
shouldn't
before
come
the
before
where we want it to break.
Break. Yeah.
before
I'm
the
coming.
when we want
I'll
it to
go. And
break.
I know that that's how we did the while loop. That it comes after the what's it called?
If statement.
Yeah.
If statement.
Let's see. It's still printing. So I think this should, let's just, I was thinking that this should actually work. Uh, all right. So this is what we need to do. Uh, this is what we need to do for it to work. Did I not put this? All right. So this will now skip Aisha and then give us the rest of the names, right? So if B is because what happened was if you put it here, since the way Python works is it starts with the top, the first code will be executed, the second code will be executed, and now you say for B in names, you already say print B. It will print everything. There will be no need for this condition again. You understand? Because it has already printed B. But if the condition comes first, it knows that it is supposed to continue when it comes to Aisha. But in the print B, it will now print whatever it is that is left in that particular condition, right? So that's how you break and continue. So there's what you call range in Python, like range of number. You know range in statistics. So when you have, say, you can print a range of numbers that are in 30, right? Don't mind me. What am I saying? 0, 30. I'm talking about a list. You can have a list that contains numbers that are, let's say, 30. Like 30 is too much. Let's say 15. And then if you look at that list, if you print that list, you find that it's a list of numbers that are between 0 and 14. So this is how you use a range, right? It's used to create, maybe if you want a list of numbers, you can just use range to put it. You can increase this, you can decide where to start. It can be start from 1, like this. When you start, this one will be the starting point, and then this one will be the ending point, right? So when you start from 1 like this, you print it, you find that it starts from 1. You can start from 5, right? So you've created a list. You use this to create a list. Why is this important? You can actually use range to iterate, right? You can have a list of numbers. For instance, you can say for number in range 10, for instance, print number. So what this will do is it's going to print the numbers that are in between 0 and 10, right? From 0 to 10, excluding the 10, numbers between 0 and 10, right? So this is what range is used for. If you want to decide where it should start, you can put 1 there, and then you execute it, and you get this. Now, this is where what's it called? Nested if comes into play, right? Because I'm not talking about, I said nested if, nested for, but I think we should leave nested for now. It's going to be a bit confusing. Let's talk about for and else. Just like you have if else statement, you also have for and else, right? So say for instance you have the syntax. This is the syntax. Let's talk about the syntax first. Say for instance you have for the syntax is like for iterator in range, you give it a starting number where it ends, right? And then you want it to do something, right? So you can now say else print something, or print something like this. So let's look at an example. This is how the syntax is. Should I go up? Is there anyone that needs to see what we did at the top? Any question before I go any further? Any question? All right, so how does this work? Say you say for number in range 1 to 10, for instance. So the code, what does it do? Print number. Else print the loop stops at maybe number. So for and else, the way they are used is that, let's say you want to print something or you want to do something after your loop ends, meaning after Python has printed all the number between 1 and 10, you want it to do something else. That's where you now use else. You understand? Because it might come in handy, maybe after you are done, you want it to go into another loop, or you want it to do another thing. So you use else to stop that, right? There are a lot of creative things you can do with this. Say you want to loop through several lists of names, right? So once you loop through the first list of name, you can now say else, you now loop through another one, right? We can try that. You can try that, I mean, you're by yourself. But when we execute this, you see that when the loop ends, it will now say the loop stops at 9. So the else, what will happen is it will print all the numbers in the loop. After it has ended, it will now stop at, say, let's try it. Let's say we have first name 1, right? And then we have a list of name. So I like these simple names. And Jamil. Right, let's leave it like this. And then we have name 2. you have Ben, J, Adi, Frank, and then let's leave it at 3, right? So I want to use for and else to loop through all these names. I'm saying if we say for name, or let's just say for n in name 1, print n, right? So it will list the 4 names. So I'm saying if you want it to list both in the same, while using the same cell of code, just executing it at the same time, I'm saying, is it possible for you to say else for m in name 2 print m, as you can see. So what else does is that it will help you go into another line of code or another task after that particular loop has been completed. Any question?
Understood.
All right. So
Understood.
that is a loop for you. There's an assignment for this loop, but we are going to look at it. Maybe I'll send it after the class. I don't want to do it here. You can do that, create that pyramid with it, but I'll send it to you guys. All right. So no question, I assume. Since you guys said no question. Yeah.
So this else will help you concatenate. So this else will help you concatenate the
Right.
list from
So,
the two variables, right?
So where for comes into play is when you start talking about pandas, right? You have your pandas. You know, pandas. Each column in a pandas is considered is almost like a list. So you might want to iterate over a particular list, right? So with that, you can use your for loop to do that. Let's look at something very important, since we are still talking about loop, called list comprehension. So list comprehension also helps a lot in when you have a, let me see, do I have data frame in this particular? I don't have. Okay, I have summer 2016. I have students. Let me copy path. Let me import pandas as PD. This is not the full path. I thought it has the full path. It doesn't have the full path. Alright. Let's leave it for now, since after all, so many people haven't done Python here and pandas here. Let's just talk about list comprehension in its simple form. Maybe we'll see it when we come to, say you have names. Like we said, you have names, right? And then the names contains all these names, and then all these names as well, right? So a list comprehension, what it does is that it will give you a very simple syntax if you want to create a new list based on the values of an existing list. You already have a list called names, and then you want to create a new list based on one particular condition, a very simple condition. You can use a list comprehension very easily. Say, for instance, you want to pull out the names of people who have only 3-letter words in their names, right? So let's call it new names, right? So let's initiate an empty list. If you use 2 square brackets and you don't put anything in it, it's considered an empty list. So the way you use list comprehension is you say you can use I, or let's say N for names in names, right? Then you use the colon. You now use a conditional statement. If len n is what? Is less than, let's say, is equal to 3. You now say new names dot append what? N. Now this is going to speaking, it almost look like I'm speaking Chinese. Print new name so that we can see what's inside. No, let's take it out of here. Let's look at it here. What is in new names? As you can see, new names that was once an empty list will now contain these particular names, right? So why is this important? Say you have a record of people in your pandas data frame, in your table, where you want to create a new list out of the pandas data frame, but maybe by using one particular condition. Maybe people who are, let's say, that got gold, for instance, but you don't want it in a pandas data frame, you just want a list. People that got gold, you can use for loop to do that. I'm talking about if you have a data set of people that participated in an Olympics and you're trying to pull out those that got gold, or based on one particular condition or the other, for loop comes in handy, right? So this is how you would do this with a for loop, right? But this is to look at how you had to use 3 lines of code. It's too extensive. There is a simple way of doing it, which is a very, very important thing to use, which is the for loop. Instead of saying for n in names, if len blah 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 is this, names dot append, there's a new way of doing it. You can just say, let's redefine this. Let's say new names 2, and this time, instead of those with less than only 3 letters, let's pick out those with 4 and above, right? So we can say new names the way you do, or let's do the same thing. Names that has only 3 letters in them, we can say new names 2 is equal to, with list comprehension, this is what you would do. You now say n. You have to read this on your own. N for n in names, if len n equals to 3. Python is now starting to look like a complete jargon, right? So this actually replaced these 3 lines of code. This is comprehension. That's why it's called list comprehension. Instead of writing a for loop that is too extensive, that will contain probably many lines of code, you can just use list comprehension and put everything in one line. N for n in names, if len n is equals to 3. So you don't have to do this append. You've already defined it, that okay, it will now check where this condition has been met. It will now add those names to the new names too, instead of all this long process. Let me leave it like this so that you guys can see it and probably make sense of it. Is it confusing, or is it interesting, or is it not? So
Interesting.
all these things are prerequisites that hopefully when we start using them, many a times some students don't won't understand some of the needed skills in Python until they start applying them in whatever uh, tech skill they are learning. Actually, let me put it this way: so data analysts and data scientists, you might find it difficult to understand this, but when you actually start using them in pandas and maybe in your visualization, you'll find them, you find that they come in handy and they make your codes neater and shorter. So instead of 3 lines of code now, like in these new names, you have just one single line of code. So this helps a lot to keep your code clean and short. Instead of your computer to be running several lines of code, it can just go through a simple line of code, just a few lines of code. So I think we'll stop here, and the takeaway in this today's class is for you to understand what for loop does, and then list comprehension. You should look into list comprehension more. We don't have enough time to go through all these things. Any questions before in the class?
Yeah. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Just like the way we used R when we want to kind of get rid of
Yeah.
escape character, or the for formatting that we used the other in the other class. And this particular N now before 4, what is
So what
this
is this
standing
standing
for?
for?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me see. I'm coming. Sorry, I'm trying to. I'm trying to respond to someone. Sorry. All right. Let me get back to you. Sorry, you were saying what does this N stand for in this particular one?
Yes.
It's the same
No,
thing
the
like
first one, the very
Yes.
first before four.
this
No,
one.
the first one, the very first one, before 4. The
Huh?
4.
No, if you go down,
If I
that
go down.
No, if you go down, that one, that compression.
after you open the bracket
You see, after you open the bracket with
Yeah,
square bracket,
yeah.
there's N
Yeah.
before 4, right?
in that particular end,
Okay, so what's
is what
happening
I'm
is
In
that
that
referring to.
particular
you
N
are saying you
is
want
what I'm
to
referring.
save something inside is because you are defining a new variable called new names, which would actually end up being a list, right? So we are trying to say, okay, n
Mm.
is what will be saved to this list. Let me look at it this way. The new names is actually equal to n. This is what you did here, and n happens to be a list. What is the list? This is what will
Mm.
now define what n is. This is the variable being saved to this. This is the value. N is the value being saved here, but the rest of the statement is what was used to define what this n is. So you are saying new names 2 is equal to n, which is a list, but inside that list they now define it that but this n is actually for n in names if len n is equals to 3. You understand? It's English, it's not fully English, but you are trying to say what was saved inside these new names is actually n. You understand? The rest of the English, that new names is equal to blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
was used to define what n is, right? You understand? I don't know if I'm making sense or I'm confusing you.
Yeah,
So
I
Yeah.
understand.
basically in list comprehension,
I
anytime you want to
understand.
create a list
Understand.
comprehension, you see that the iterator would come first as the list is being created, and then there will be some statements coming after that, okay, to define what is saved inside that iterator. So initially n sorry, I'm coming. N was already defined, but you want to now explain what you now to now say values inside this n. That's why you are saying for n in names, if len n is the same as 3.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So that's what happened. Any other question? I believe we have none. Many people were facing network issues, so I know they missed the part of the class, but there will be a note on this. Send it. If you have a problem, talk to me online. And I think I should create a whole video on this. Maybe if it's just 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll send it to you. Apart from the video we are going to use here. This particular class has been recorded, so apart from this class we'll have another video to explain what happened. I know that it's a class that is a bit
Thank you, sir.
complicated, this particular class, but we'll look into it, and if you read further you understand it. So I believe we can call it a night here.